Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss, with your analysis for June 2nd, 2016. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES right now. You can see that price is holding near the upper end of its trading range. We have a clear range. It's traded basically from 2020 up to 2105s. This range has taken place since the end of March, and it's basically traded very much like we expected, which was after rallying from 1800, we expected price to chop around the HVN around 2061s, perhaps form another distribution range, and then sometime later on in the summer, perhaps decline back toward 1800. It's a large trading range that we've been seeing build out over the last couple of years. There's nothing really to suggest that this thing would continue higher when it's basically been in this range for some time. Obviously, we could see any push beyond 2105s. Any rejection would suggest a rotation back across the range. Right now, the one thing that I really want to see is how does price respond above 2079s, because any failure to hold 2079 would then suggest that we're likely headed back toward 2029 with tests at the HVNs 2061, 2049. Further trading range behavior between 80 and 2100 could be seen, but obviously we've got to see how this plays out in this range. As of right now, the expectation would be that any failed expansion beyond 2100, 2105 would lead to a very good opportunity back across the range. Now, if we take a look at the monthly key levels here, 2094.75, 2103.75, those are key levels to watch here. As we head into the early portion of the month, rejections again would be early opportunities back across the range. If we look at the intraday time frame for the ES right now, you can see prices have been chopping around and trading heavily around the 5-day VPOC. That's 2094 quarter. You know, right now we're in a lot of chop as of right now, so it's tough to call either way. Obviously, we could see further development of this 5-day profile before expansion occurs. But right now, there's really nothing definitive to go on just yet. So we'll have to continue to play it out. Obviously, if we do see an upside push through 2100, 2105 half is going to be the primary upside target for the day as of right now. And any test of that level could be an early fade opportunity back toward 5-day VPOC. All right, let's take a look at crude oil. Here's crude oil in the daily time frame. This has been trending nicely higher. We talked about the continuation into 49s. And then perhaps into 51s. We have 51.65 as the next LVN above. We're currently chopping around the HVN here, which is now 49.39. I'll update that. And we're holding above the LVN here at 47.21. So we formed a very nice little clear range here. The very important level that we've been talking about this entire time is the previous month's high price here. And that's actually the April high. And price held and chopped around that level the entire month of May, and now basically closed above it. So this is going to be the key area to watch here. Bulls want to keep that area defended for a continuation higher into 51.65, 53.40, and perhaps 55s. 55 is that next major stepping stone above the major HVN above. But if we cannot hold above the LVN here and that previous month's high from a couple of months ago, then that would open up a big time move, perhaps across the range into the 43s and even 38s. So this is going to be very important and a very key level to watch right here. Bulls want to keep that defended for a continuation. Failure to hold it opens up a rotation back down. As of right now, kind of just a range that's forming around that area. The early indication here is that rejections are occurring above the previous month's close. That could be an early indication of at least a move back toward the bottom of the pivot range, which is going to be 46.96, and that's going to be the midpoint of the previous month's range. All right, let's take a look now at the intraday time frame. On an intraday basis, you can see here prices just basically chopping around 48.68 in major level here. That's going to be an early key level to watch for rotations. Again, this is not doesn't have any clear decisive action here on which way we can go. It appears that we've formed a clear key range impulse move here on the way up, so that's going to be a key range to watch throughout the day and perhaps heading into the weekend. So that's going to be a very important level. You can see right here 48.68, that's the area where bulls want to defend. Failure to hold that level could mean early weakness back toward the 47.75s. Let's take a look at gold futures here. Here's gold. One thing we were talking about was any continuation downward through 1236.5 would put a lot of pressure on 1208s. Bulls would want to defend 1208s. You can see there was a great defense ahead of it. Price pulled below it and then popped back above it a couple of sessions ago, and then you can see that it held 1208.30 very nicely the previous session to begin the new month. So a lot of bulls are coming in to defend that area as expected. The expectation now is that if bulls continue to keep this area bid, then we could see another rally back toward 1260 to 1275. That's the next upside zone to watch out for. Eventually, if there is a failure to hold above 1208s, then we have these downside targets to play to back toward 1141s, 1151. So that's going to be very important here. But right now, bulls are keeping this area defended, and the expectation would be for further bounce to the upside if they can keep above 1208s. Now let's take a look at the NQ. Here's the NQ in an intraday or daily time frame. You can see that price broke through the top of 4,400 and saw a significant rally. We were expecting that before. We were talking about how tightly coiled this range was. Very, very narrow range. Usually does not hold the market's attention for long, because now you have to see expansion in order to accommodate more participants, and this is exactly what happened. Significant expansion to the upside right into the 45.23s, and that's where we're kind of holding right now. As we mentioned earlier, if we do push into the upside here, we could see a push as high as 45.50s, at which point we could see the market hold. We got very close and are now holding 45.23. So right now, still a little bit of development to go until we see some actual movement away from this zone. If we take a look at the monthly key levels, you can see price closed the month very near the highs, the lows very, very much lower. If prices can't hold this zone, then we would have to bring up the monthly pivot range, and in that case, we would have the monthly pivot point at 44.41 and the midpoint of the previous month's range at 43.99, call it 4,400. Those would be the key levels to watch on the downside should this rotate lower. So at some point here, we have price distribution up here, we have a price distribution down here. We saw expansion to the upside. Once you see a failure to continue higher, you're likely going to come back and test the top of the range. I think 4,400 is going to be a very important level to watch here, because if price cannot hold or see further expansion above 45.30, then I think this is the target that the market's going to be looking for. All right, let's take a look at the intraday time frame for the NQ. Here you have very clear consolidation that's built on highs here. We have sort of an impulse range that we can work on either from Wednesday's market or perhaps from the Tuesday market, but either way there's a key range there to watch out for as we head into the rest of the week. Failure to hold above 4,500 could open the door back to 44.78.5 and perhaps even lower. But right now, look for further back and forth action. We could be looking at a fade new highs, fade new lows type of day. The early indication right now is to slant down because of the market failing to see any acceptance beyond the previous session's close. That was offered immediately, and then the retest also offered. So we know there are stops above there, so above 45.21s could open up a move back into 45.30 and beyond. But right now, we could be looking at downside pressure through 45.06 and perhaps lower. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.